Hello, my name is Sergio Salcido, and this is Rock, Paper, and Scissors game written in C, created in Visual Studios. Now, within this YouTube channel, I do have an alpha version and a beta version. This is actually the final version of my project that I've been creating writing in C. Now, this was created to display and put to use what I've learned in regards to writing programs in C. Now, let's go ahead and break down the code. Lines 1 through 5 here is the libraries included for the functions I'll be using throughout this project. The next line, 7 through 14, these are the declarations for the modularized code and the functions that are going to be in those modularized codes. This is created to clean up the code so it is easier to understand and easier to debug. Next here we have lines 16 through 18. These are defining rock, paper, and scissors to equal or mean the integers of 1, 2, and 3. And this is making sure that when I write rock, paper, or scissors, the compiler knows that it means and represents those integers. And then next here we are defining user choice and computer choice and equaling it to 0, which is just a default placement. This is initializing those variables so that way when they're used later in the code, they work properly. And then next here, starting at line 23, we have our main function. Within the main function, the first line of code here is the random seed generator, and this allows for the computer, well, the reason why it's in here is for the computer to be able to randomly generate or choose a number between 1 and 3 for the game. And then the next line of code here, we have a string we are creating with an array of 2, and this is setting up for the yes or no question for the user on whether or not they want to play or they want to exit the game. And then the do statement here, what it does is it first goes to the modularized code for display main menu and runs that. Then it asks the user to enter a choice, and then whatever choice or whatever the user enters will be scanned into the code and continue to run throughout the code, which what it's scanning is a user's choice of yes or no to play the game or exit the game. And that's what these next lines of code here are. It's the if statement to where if the user enters yes or y, then it'll go ahead and run the modularized code for play game. And then else if the user chooses N for no, they want to exit, then it'll run the modularized code for exit game. And then next line of code here, the else, we have our error handling. So else if Y or N is not chosen by the user or entered by the user, this error message will display. Please enter your choice as Y or N. And then we have the while if the choice is N, then the code will or the project will end. And the next line here of code starting at 53, this is the modularized code for that display menu. So in here, this is what it initially starts in the main function of the program in that first do statement, display main menu. So as soon as that line of code starts, this is what will actually be ran. And so what it does is it displays the name of the game, and then it asks the user if they want to play. And it'll ask them to enter that wire in there. Do you want to play? Yes or no? And then the next modularized code we have here is the play game section. So in the play game section, first thing first, we make sure that the compiler knows user choice equals player's throw and computer's choice equals computer throw. And then in here we have a lot of if-else statements. So first section here, line 64 through 75 is for the player or the user's choice. So if the player's choice equals rock, then it'll indicate that they chose rock. And then same thing for paper. If they choose paper, it'll tell them that they chose paper. And if they choose scissors, then it'll tell them that they chose scissors. And then the next section here is for the computer. So that way the user knows what the computer chose. So if the computer chose rock, it'll indicate that to them. If it chose paper, it'll indicate that to them. And if it chose scissors, it'll let the user know. And then the next set of if statement here is for if the user and the computer choose the exact same thing. If this occurs, then it'll let the user know that they did not win, but they did not lose, and they can fight another day, pretty much representing that it was a draw. And then if it's not a draw, then else the compiler will determine the winner. And then the next modularized code we have here is the player throw. So from the player throw, if the player it'll first prompt the player to select their battle weapon, and then it'll give them the options of rock, paper, or scissors, and letting them know that rock equals 1, paper equals 2, and scissors equals 3. And then it'll ask them to choose between 1 or 3, 1 through 3. And then this next line of code here at line 109 is the scanf to intake that player's or user's um, input and add it to the memory placement of player. And then the next line of code here is a while statement. And this is our error handling. So while the player enters a choice, if it's lower than 1 or higher than 3, it'll give them that error message to please enter a number between 1 and 3, and then it'll ask them to enter their choice once more. And then whatever choice the player makes from there between 1 and 3, it'll scan it into the game once more to be ran through properly. And then the next modularized code here we have is the computer's choice. So what this is doing is allowing the computer to randomly choose between rock, paper, scissors, or 1 through 3. And then next here we have the modularized code for the draw. If the player and the computer choose the same thing, then that draw message function runs. And then next we have the determining of the winner. So this is broken up into an if-else statement. And so if the player chose a hand that beats the computer, then it will let them know that they defeated the machine in a great battle. And then if the computer chooses a hand that beats the player, it'll let them know that they lost the machine, and it'll ask them if they can win next time. And then the next modularized code section we have here is our error handling. And within the error handling, it'll indicate to the player that they have an invalid choice. And then lastly, we have our modularized code for ending the game. And this is just thanking the player for playing and letting them know that they'll see them next time. Now, in this final version from the beta version, which was the last video I posted, the differences I inputted was I added spacing in between all of the messages so that way it's easier and cleaner for the user to read while they're playing the game. And then I also edited the error handling. So I added a constant char message within the decoration. And so that way the modularized code for the error handling here will always indicate invalid choice anytime error handling occurs. But then in the sections where I have error handling, like this one in particular, it has a specific response for that specific section of error handling. So in the beta version, it just uh, it just printed out in the game all of the error handling messages, but in this section I only want to let the user know that they entered a choice rather than Y or N. And then in the section where they have to choose between rock, paper, and scissors, this error message indicates to the player that they chose an option that wasn't 1 through 3. And then those were pretty much all the changes I made to finalize this project. So let's go ahead and run the project so you can see it. Alrighty, so here, first things first, let's go ahead and start the game. And with that, we will select an option between rock, paper, and scissors. I'm going to choose paper. And then the game is ran, and then it restarts itself. So first things first, I chose paper, and then it indicates to me that the machine chose scissors, so I lost that match against the machine. Now, just between this version and the beta version, you can see that the spacing is a lot better, so it's easier to read for the user. Last time everything was jumbled up, and I think it was a little harder to read. But next, let's go ahead and play again. And this time, I'm also going to choose paper to make sure that the computer is randomly generating that choice. So this time the machine chose rock, but I was still um, I was able to beat the machine this time. And then, of course, the program restarts once more at that display menu, asking me if I want to play again. So I'm going to say yes, and let's see if I can get a draw this time. Oh, I still defeated the machine once more because it chose rock again. So let's go ahead and keep playing that until we can see a draw option. Alrighty, there's the draw option because the paper or the computer chose paper and I also chose paper, which it is a good thing that it took a little bit to reach there because it is indicating to me that the computer is randomly choosing those options between 1 and 3 appropriately. So now let's go ahead and display our error handling as we've shown a win, a loss, and a draw. So now I'm going ahead and entering something other than Y or N for yes, I want to play, or no, I want to exit the game. And there we go. We have the modularized code for the message that displays every time an error occurs, which is invalid choice. And then I have the particular message for please enter a choice between Y or N for playing the game or exiting the game. So we're going to go ahead and play again. And then let's go ahead and cause an error message to occur here. So we're going to choose 5. And so there we have it. We have our invalid choice, our constant message, and then we have the particular message for that section, which is to please enter a number between 1 and 3. And then it asks me to enter that choice. So this time I'm going to choose 3. And then the game plays through, which I chose scissors, and then it indicates to me that the computer chose rock, and I lost this game in particular. And then the game restarts once more. So now lastly, with going through all of the game function options, we're going to go ahead and decide to exit the game. And then it displays that error message for me, and the project or game is over. And that is everything with the final version of my project of Rock, Paper, Scissors, written in C, created in Visual Studios. Thank you.